What's up guys, I'm Micah.
And I'm Matt.
And today we'll be reviewing the film Green Book. It stars Viggo Mortensen, Mahershala Ali, and it was directed by Peter Farrelly. Alright Matt, so tell us more of a recap of the plot. Tell us what would happen in the movie.
Yeah, a really quick recap of this plot is that the main character, Dr. Donald Shirley, is a African-American pianist, and he decides to go on a tour of the deep south of America, of the USNA. So he needs some protection, because it's going to be quite rough down there. He hires a man called Tony Lip.
Yeah, he hires Tony Vallelonga, who's kind of the local muscle in the Bronx. He's hired to be, I guess, beat people up, or he's hired just to be there and hang out. I guess where does he work, at the Casa Blanca or
Copacabana, yeah.
Don Shirley actually recommended Tony Lip from I think his record company or something like that.
I think so, just because the record company or whoever recommended him, they know he's a tough guy, he gets stuff done, he's a good bodyguard. He was the right choice, I feel, except the problem was that Tony has a very bad notion of African Americans and, colored people in general. Do you have anything else to say about the plot?
One thing I do have to actually explain is the Green Book, the title behind the name of the movie, which is really important. The Green Book is basically a book for African American people to find hotels in the Deep South, which is really racist when you think about it, but in the early 1960s, that's the way it was.
Yeah, that Green Book, like you said, it's for the hotels where colored people can stay and eat, and basically all the rules relating to where they can and cannot go, which is pretty dark when you think about it.
In the movie, it's really bad too, because most of the hotels they stay at are really run down, and it seems like no one upkeeps them, and they just look like crap, and you feel really bad because just in the Deep South, black people, like they were free men, but they still had basically no rights or anything like that too.
Even when they were traveling, Tony and Dr. Shirley, they were traveling together, and Tony, as the Caucasian man, he would be staying at the fancier hotels, and then Dr. Shirley would have to stay in the run-down, colors only place. It was pretty bad. So what did you think of the movie? What did you like about it?
The things that I liked mostly about the movie is their interactions in the car, because they spend so much time in the car and they end up realizing, okay, there's so many things that Dr. Don Shirley hasn't done, and Tony Lip is, I guess, showing him different things. I find that Dr. Don Shirley was almost he seemed like a kind of aristocrat, kind of.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think this movie it's basically like following them on this large road trip as they go around the Deep South. And the plot progresses through those car rides, like you're saying. So as Tony's driving and Dr. Shirley's in the back, it almost seems like there's a role reversal of the times, as bad as those times were, of course. Whereas usually, the white man had the black man driving. In this case, Dr. Shirley had Tony driving, and of course the races were reversed. And it seems like Dr. Shirley, like you mentioned, he's almost like a nobility kind of guy. There's a scene where he even sits on a throne in his office, and he doesn't speak like even a regular American. He speaks very like nobility, maybe living in some castle or something. It's very strange. But the acting and chemistry of the two characters was amazing, I think.
There's lots of really awesome parts where he starts, I guess, writing to his wife, because his wife says, "You need to write me." And Tony's letters are pretty funny when you actually, he mentions them, but then Dr. Don Shirley is saying like, "I'll help you." And then he ends up writing his wife like really romantic letters, and she's almost like just falling for it, and I like that part too.
Yeah, Viggo's acting about Tony was very excellent, I'd say. I loved the Italian, Yankee accent and all the Italian parts. It's just parts of it. It was just like, it's that stereotypical Italian where he's like, "Hey, what are you talking about, man?" Like that kind of stuff. I thought it was super funny.
I don't know if he had to gain a lot of weight for the role too, because it feels like every single scene he was eating as well. Like he was always eating like fried chicken or like hot dogs. Yeah. Remember the beginning of the movie too? He even starts, I think he has a hot dog eating contest, and he beats this other character and he wins $50 or something like that too. Yeah,
he I think it was 26 hot dogs, and he ate some guy who's always at this like restaurant or bar, and this guy was like kind of bigger. He says like the guy's left butt cheek weighs like more than 26 hot dogs or something.
It's Fat Polly.
Yeah, was that his name?
I don't know.
Are you, please God, Big Fat Polly?
It would make sense for that though.
Yeah, so there's some funny scenes in it for sure.
Was there anything in the movie you didn't like?
Can't say there was too much I didn't like about it. I mean, the acting was good, the film was good, the story progressed. If I had to say something I didn't really like, is that the movie was called Green Book, but they only reference the Green Book maybe 2 or 3 times in the whole movie, so I get why they named it, because they're following the code of the Green Book, but they really only looked at it maybe once near the end of the movie, where it's like, oh, where are we gonna stay tonight? And that was about it, but that's probably my only dislike. What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't have too many things to complain about the movie myself. I think the only thing was that, like you said, the Green Book, they could have referenced it a lot more. It just kind of seemed like a plot point that they needed to progress the movie, and they didn't bring it up a lot more, because once they had that plot point, it just kind of progressed Tony Lip and Dr. Don Shirley's characters together.
Another thing I wanted to add on about something I kind of disliked about the movie was about the controversies surrounding the movie. Apparently, they say this movie is based on a totally true story, which it is, but they didn't consult the family of Donald Shirley at all. And the family had actually said this story was totally false, and there was no friendship between these two, and there was no, you know, I think they said even Tony got fired at one point. The story goes the totally opposite way. So I think the director of this took some huge liberties, which distorts the true image of it. Do you have anything to comment about that?
I guess they had to Hollywoodize it, man, because if the actual real story came out in a movie, it wouldn't be as good.
That's very true. Nobody wants to hear a story where it's just like, oh, well, one guy's racist, he wouldn't work for the guy, see you later. That's not a good story to watch, right?
Mm-hmm. They need the happy story, and, you know, it like shows the progression of two people, and especially, I guess, during the age that America's facing too. This
is one of those movies that was definitely Oscar bait, I feel, where they, you know, play the racial tensions and make it a wholesome story by the end. No wonder they won the Oscar. Did it win Best Picture for the Oscars and Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali?
Yeah, Mahershala Ali is a really great actor. I don't think I've seen him in too many things, but he seems to be getting more roles. I think I had seen him on, what's that one TV show? It's like a Marvel TV show. I think it was called Luke Cage or something.
Oh, was he in that?
Yeah, he played like one of the main villains in that show. So that he's a really good actor, and I think he's in True Detective as well. So lots of other like shows that we should probably check out.
So he does mostly TV shows that you've seen?
I think he's getting more movie roles, but he was in the Hunger Games for a little bit too.
Oh really? I haven't seen that in years. I know you wanted to discuss the racial tensions and segregation that Dr. Shirley experienced in the Deep South. What would you like to say about that?
Social issues are pretty much the main plot points of this movie, and there's a part where Dr. Don Shirley is riding with Tony Lip in the car, and he tells him to stop the car because he's having a huge identity crisis, because he doesn't believe he identifies as an African-American man, and no white people accept him either. And they have this just huge conversation, and Dr. Don Shirley just really gets upset, and Tony Lip's just listening to him. And I thought that was amazing acting by Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen, just to show the characters and the struggle that Dr. Shirley is having.
Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting for the movie, as there's many scenes where even Tony says straight up to Dr. Shirley that Tony is more black than he is. And there's a scene as well where they go Kentucky, and Tony sees KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, in Kentucky, and he's all excited. And Dr. Shirley's saying, hey, you know, I've never had this, it's unsanitary. I thought it was pretty funny.
Basically, he's like holding the chicken like this, and he's barely touching anything because he doesn't want to get grease on his shoes or his clothes.
I think he also had a blanket always just wore on himself all the time to like keep warm. And
he was just very high society guy, and Tony Lip was saying, I'm more, like he told him, I'm more black than you, like I know more about your culture than you do, because I think they were listening to Little Richard, who's like a rock and roll star, African-American rock and roll star in the 60s and 50s and 60s, and he's basically saying like, you've never heard of this guy? And then Dr. Don Shirley saying, I've never heard of him before. And then Tony says, I'm more black than you. And then like just this whole conversation ensues. And it's interesting because Tony Lip says that he grew up on the streets, and then he's saying that Dr. Don Shirley is like, I guess, I don't know if he was born into a rich family or anything like that, but he went to school at a young age, and he became a classically trained pianist when he was really young. And it's interesting to see maybe the role reversals they were talking about.
I know as well you wanted to discuss a certain scene in the movie, kind of near the beginning of the movie, where Dr. Shirley is about to play a show and need to use the restroom. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, super racist scene. Like he just goes in and he's trying to go to the main washroom, and then I guess the house director, butler guy, or owner of the house or whatever, yeah, he comes up to him and says, oh, like, you know, where are you going? And then he says, I'm just going to the bathroom. And then he's like, well, you can't go to this bathroom, you can go to the one outside. And it's this crappy commode outside, like looks like it's been, like, I think it was raining too or something like that. And yeah, basically just showing the complete racism in the 60s.
Yeah, that place, they like pan over to the commode that's outside. Looked like the outhouse from Shrek, basically. So it was like pretty nasty, and even Dr. Shirley says, you know, I'm just about to play tonight. I'm the guest of honor. You make me use this commode outside, and the guy says it's just, oh, it's tradition, it's house rules, right? Like, we can't. And then Dr. Shirley even asks him, like, have you used this before? And the guy says, well, I haven't gotten any complaints from the, you know, the helpers or their workers, who are all, of course, African American as well. And they actually end up making him drive to his hotel, which is like, I think they said 30 minutes one way, so they went basically an hour, and they said, we'll wait, it's fine. It's pretty dark stuff, hey?
No, the fact that they would have to drive that far of a way just to go to the bathroom and then come back just shows the complete, I guess, lack of empathy, or just how racist people are back then.
We've discussed the movie pretty in depth, so any final thoughts on the movie?
If you love a good plot and great acting, and I guess the progression of the movie and just how it deals with social issues and all the deep racism in the 1960s and just shines a light on how bad it was, I think everyone would find something to like about this movie. What about yourself?
I agree with what you said there. I think this movie was done really well, and people should watch it if they like drama movies and good acting. I'd actually never seen this movie before or even heard of it, so maybe I just need to watch more movies or expand my genres. I'm usually more of an action sci-fi kind of guy. But I was happily surprised. It was quite wholesome, and the chemistry between Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali was amazing in my opinion. Definitely think people should check this out.
Yeah, it was the second time I've seen the movie. I saw it in theaters, and the only reason I think I saw it was just because of Viggo Mortensen, because I was like, obviously Lord of the Rings, you know, such a big name, but when you actually sit down and watch the movie, you'll see how well written it was. I don't know, I was trying to like add on to something there.